All right, welcome back to Genius. So in the last session, we talked about how to create objects and more um, different ways you can use to create objects, accessing objects and stuff like that. But in this section, let's talk more about objects, okay? There are so many other things we need to discuss about object, and let's dive into it. So how do you loop through an object? Remember that an object has key value pairs, all right? So how do you loop through this object in case you want to get to the keys or you want to get to the values? How do you get them, all right? So we actually do this through looping through the object. Okay, so if you want to get to the keys, if you want to get to the values, we have to loop through it. So now, this is what it looks like. All right. When you have your for loop, all right, you say let key in person. Now, when you say let key in person, all right, this key, okay, let me just go to code. Let me just take you to code. Okay. Um, okay. So let's say we have an object. Let's say we have an object like this, and this is our student object. And these students should have their name. Sorry, I'm actually trying to write it. These students should have their name, and let's say John Doe. Let's say age, 40, height, okay. Let's say 6.1, 6.2. Now, so this is the student object. So if you want to loop through this student object, you want to get to the keys, all right? You will do something like this you use the for loop and let key, all right, in student. So what is going to happen is this, all right? JavaScript engine is going to loop through this student object and it's going to look for the keys. So for each key, there will be an iteration. There will be iteration based on the keys. So since we have three keys, there we have name, age, and height. JavaScript will loop through this object 3 times. For each iteration, it will take the key and put it inside this key variable. All right, it will put it inside this key variable. And when we say console.log, when we log this key, all right, it is actually going to give us name, age, and height. So if you want to take a look at what are the keys of a particular object, maybe this object, you're getting it from a database or you're getting it from an API, you don't really know what they look like. You can use the for loop through the keys, all right, and get the keys. So if I go on now and print, you're going to see we have name, age, and height, okay? So in case you want to, while you're looping through it, you want to access the value, all you have to do is to call the student, and then you will use the bracket notation and put in the key to get the key. What did I do? Oops. Okay, so you use the key like this. So now we are looping through the object and we are saying, okay, for each iteration, we are accessing the object value. Remember how to access the object value. You can actually use the dot notation or you use the bracket notation. Here, we are not using dot notation. We are using the bracket notation. So the object name, then square bracket, inside the square bracket, you put the key. Now, this key can be a string. It will always be a string. It must be something that evaluates to a string. It must be an expression that evaluates to a string. But don't bother about what I just said now. It will be more advanced for you. But just look at the way I did it. Okay. So if I go ahead and run this, we are now going to get their values. We get John Doe 40 and 6.2. Okay. So now this is how you loop through. All right. So let's take a look at more things that we have there. So we are saying for let key in person. Okay. So we are looping through it. And then of course, they are using template literal. Okay, you know what template literal is, so I believe you can figure this out. Okay, so you can also look through the object using the object.keys. When you do the normal looping that we just did now, you're actually going to get the keys. But to make it more readable for everybody to understand what you're doing, you can actually use the object.keys. When you call this object.keys method, it is actually going to return all the keys of the object. Okay, so now it will return it as an array. So if I go to now, instead of doing this, all right, I could just say, okay, I could create a variable here and I'll call it keys. So if I say object.keys, all right, then I'll pass in my student variable. This is going to return an array of all the keys. So when I say console.log, so in case you want to get all the keys of an object, you will use the object.keys method and it will return an array. So when I call this, when I console it, let me clear my stamina. When I console this, look at it, it prints all the keys as an array. All right, so if you want to convert all the keys of an object to an array, all you have to do is to call the object.keys method on it. You call the object.keys method on it and it will return an array. All right, so I want you to understand this thing. So there will be different scenarios where you'll be using all of this. If you just want to loop through the keys, you can just use the for loop and get the keys. All right, and if you get the keys, you can also get the values. All right, once you get the key in the loop, you can now use the notation operator to get the value of that key. So, but if you want to get all the keys, all right, maybe you don't want to loop through it, you can just use object.keys and it will return an array for you. So you can now do whatever you want to do with it in that array. So you can also do object.values. Object.values will return all the values. Object.keys will return all the keys. Object.values will return all the values. So if we go back to code, instead of doing object.keys, I'm going to do object.values. All right. And guess what? It is going to print all the values. Now it is going to pick out all the values that we have here. So we have John Doe as a value for name. We have 40 for the value of age. And if I run this code now, you're going to see we get it's going to return it as an array also. So we get John Doe 40 and 6.2. So there are different things you can actually do with this. Okay. You can also do object.entries. When you do object.entries, it is going to give you the key value pair. It will not just give you the key or the value, it will give you the key value pair, but as an array. All right. So when we do this, we are going to get this, it's going to give it to you as a nested array. So all those, the key and the value, they will be in an array. So depending on what you want to do with, depending on your logic, if I say object.entries, all right, it is going to return a nested array, and this nested array is going to contain each of the arrays, each of the element of this nested array will contain the key and the value. All right, so you can see the key here is name, the value is John Doe. The key here is name, is age, and the value is 40. The key here is height, and the value is 6.2. Okay, so now you do object.keys, object.values, object.entries, or you can just loop through it with the for loop and you do whatever you want to do. Okay. Something just came to my mind. Let me just try it out. Student dots. Okay, all right. This is not available here. It's only on arrays. Okay, so there is something we call object destructuring. You have to pay close attention, okay? Even though you have taken some JavaScript classes before, you might not have seen this, all right? So object destructuring in JavaScript is a concise and convenient way to extract values from objects and assign them to variables. You know, your object will contain key value pairs. So if you want to extract the values, all right? If you want to extract the values of that object, you can actually do object destructuring. Very simple and concise. It was introduced in ES6, okay? And it is widely used in modern JavaScript development. Short, basically, short, if you start writing React applications, you'll be using object restructuring so much. I use it a lot. All right, I use it a lot. So look at this. We have this person object. This person object has key value pair. We have name, age, and country. Now, if I say, if this is how we do object destructuring, all right? This is how we do object destructuring. And then, let me just, I think I will explain this thing better with code. Now look at it. I have a student, this student object, name, age, and height. If I want to do object destruction, this is what I would do. I would do const, look at what I'm doing. Const, then an empty curly braces like this. I will say equal to student. All right. Now, inside these curly braces, I'm going to put the keys. All right. I'm going to use the keys. So I will say name. All right. You can see this is giving me intelligence already. I will say age, and I will say height. This is the simplest way you can do this. So what I'm doing here is that I am taking the key and the value, all the keys, all right? Now, I'm taking all the keys, but what JavaScript is going to do for me is that JavaScript is going to take, since I have taken all the keys like this, JavaScript will assign their values to them. Now, these keys, now you're seeing this name, age, and height, they are not variables, all right? They are not variables. So JavaScript will now go and take these values. JavaScript will take this value and put it inside of this age variable, sorry, this name variable. It will take this 40 and put it inside of this age variable. It will take 6.2 and put it inside of this height variable. So if I go on now and print and console.log, I'm sorry, I'm using print a lot now because I've started Python class. So I don't know, they are just entering my mouth. Even when I'm doing Python class, I will be talking about JavaScript too. So that is it. So please pardon me about that. So if I want to access this variable, I can go for name, all right? Okay, I can also do the same thing. I will do name, I will do age, and I will do height. So if I go on and print this thing now, remember I said, look at what JavaScript is doing. JavaScript would know that this object has name, age, and height in it as their keys. So JavaScript will just go look for their respective values. It will take John Doe and put it in age. Now, this name now is not a variable. I'm sorry, it will take John Doe and put it in name. This name now is not a variable. All right, age, it will take 40 and put it in age. It will take 6.2 and put it in height. So if I go and run this code now, let me clear. If I run this code now, you will see that name is John Doe, age is 40, and height is 6.2. So this is how you do object destructuring. We have destructured this object. So we have created variables out of the object. Okay, I believe this is very simple to understand, but if you don't understand it, please reach out to us. So when you print out the variables like this, you're going to get their values. So where do you use this? What are the use cases and the variations? So you can use it to rename variables. All right, you can use it to rename variables. So let's say I want to rename, let's say from this now, let's say I want to rename this name. I want to rename this name variable, this name key. I want to rename it to full name. The only thing I will do is that I will put colon and then I will now say full name. Now I have renamed it. I have renamed it. So I can now use full name. I use this a lot in my code too. Look at it. All right. Maybe I don't want, maybe, okay, let's imagine that I do not know, let's imagine that I do not know the keys of this object, but I know that they contain, let's say 3 keys. I can say X, Y, let's say I can say A, B, C. All right, look at what will happen. If I go on and print A, print B, all right, and print C. Okay, let's save and run. Oops. Oh, okay, sorry. Oh, sorry, not age. I did age instead of A. Okay. I hope I don't get any error here. Okay, all right. No, this is one thing I also have to mention. You must use the keys of that object. If you see, I tried to use ABC, and ABC does not exist in this object. That is why we got undefined all the way. So you have to use the keys, all right, but you can rename them. So if I want to rename this age, this name, I can say full name, and I will put is a colon. All right, I can put a colon there, and then if I call full name, all right, if I run this code now, you can see I got John Doe. Okay, I have renamed this name to full name. So, but look, this is the way I did it. All right, after the key, I put a colon and then the new variable name. But if I try to access name now, all right, let's see if we still get it. Okay, you can see because we have renamed it, it's no longer available. All right, watch out for these errors. After you have renamed it, it's no longer available. So if you have, whenever you rename, you use the new name that you have given. Okay. All right. So this is, you can do renaming. Okay. I can remove these ones to make it. So this is how you do renaming. All right. Okay. So you can also do default values. Let's say you're trying to get a variable a key that does not exist in the object. All right. You can give it a default value. So you can rename the keys. You can also give default value. Let's go on and see. If I try to do A, all right, A does not exist here. So instead of, I can say if A does not exist, or I give it a default value, I can say A does not exist. So this is the default value. All right. So if I go and print A, instead of A to give me undefined, you saw that previously it gave me undefined because A does not exist. If instead of A to give me undefined now, it will give me A does not exist as the default. I want you to understand something. You don't have to cram all these things. No, but just try to understand the concept. Understand that these things are available. Through practice, it will become your second nature. All right. But you don't have to cram it. Don't cram it. Understand the concept. Understand that there's something called object destructuring. Understand that you can use object destructuring to rename. You can give default values. Understand all those things, but you don't have to cram it. Even me as your teacher, most of the times I forget these things. So when I forget them, I'll just go to Google or make some reference and I will get it back. All right. But the more you practice it, the more you work on it, the easier it becomes. Okay. So you can say how to give a default value. Now, A does not exist. All right. But look at it. If I try to call this A now, it doesn't exist. So it will give me undefined. All right. It will give me undefined. But if I give it a default value, it will no longer give me undefined. Okay. All right. You can also look at nested destructuring. If the objects are nested, you can also destructure them. Okay. So let's go on and say we have a nested object here. Let's say, okay, instead of doing name, I can make name a nested object. I can make name a nested object, and I will say first name is John. Okay. First name is John, and last name is Doe. All right. Okay. So look at it. If I try to print name now, all right, I'm going to get an object. Oops, sorry. I was printing A instead of name. All right. I will have to clear. So if I'm going to get an object, you can see it now. So how do I destructure this object? It's very simple. If I want to have access to the individual values, I will just come here and do something like this. Do you understand? Look at what I did. I put a colon and I opened curly brace. I opened another object so I can say first name. You can see first name is available, last name is available. So this is how you do nested destructuring. This student has name and this name is an object. So inside here, I can destructure this object too. So when I destructure it, if I call first name now, I will have the first name. Just take a look at what I'm doing here. So this is what you do. First of all, you get the nested object, which is name, and you put a colon and put your object like this. Okay? So how do you destructure objects in function parameters? Let's imagine that you wrote a function, and that function is going to be taking an object. So let's show you how you can do this. So first of all, I'm going to write a function. I'm going to write a function, and I'll just call it func. And then this is going to be taking an object. So I'll just say obj. And in this object, I'll just say console.log. I'm not doing much. I'll just console.log this object. So if I go on now to call this func, I'm passing the student object. Look at what it's going to do for me. If I run this code now, I will clear. If I run this code now, it's going to print out this object like this. But what if I would want to use each of these values of this object? What if I want to use them in my function? I will do object destructuring. So as I'm creating the object, all right, as I'm defining the object, I will make something like this. I will say name, I will say age, and I will say height. And if I go on and print, so inside this my object, inside this my function, I can now do whatever I want to do with each of these values. So if you want to have access of these objects in your function, you can actually destructure them and you will have access to them. So I have destructured this object in this function. So if I go on and then print, let me also clear. Now, I have destructured this, the object parameter. I have destructured it inside of this function definition. So when I go on and print this, I'm going to get name is an object, 40 is age, and 6.2 is height. I can also destructure this name right here. I can say first name, I can say last name, and I can just come and say and print first name here. So you can see the object destructuring working. Do you understand? So this is how you destructure objects in functions. So when you're defining the function, that is where you destructure them, then make use of them inside your function. Okay. So you can take a look at this. Here we destructure the object that will, yeah, the name and country, and we actually did something with it inside a function. All right, and that is how it works. So there's something we call the rest operator to get the remaining properties. Now, let's say you want to destructure an object, but you don't want to destructure all of them. You just want to have, you want to maybe take the first value, and the remaining one, you want to put them, maybe you want to put them together. So that is where you use the rest operator. Look at here. This person object has name and country. But here, this code is just taking only the name, all right? This code is taking only the name. And the remaining ones, it will put it inside this rest operator. See, this total started with ... 3 dots, then you give it a variable name. It must not be rest. It mustn't be called rest. Anything you call it, all right? So let's go and do, let me show you. So I will say const, and I will say, look at it, I will say age. All right? Okay, let me look at what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to do something very different here. It is available in Python, but I don't know if it's available in JavaScript, but let me try it. I will do this. I will now say ... I will call it, it must not be rest. All right? It mustn't be called rest, but you can also call it rest. So I can say, you can call it any name. It's console.log. I'll print age. Then I will print rest. So if I go on and run this code, I will clear. If I run this code, look at what happened here. All right, JavaScript just took age all right, out of this object. And every other thing, the rest of the values, it will put it inside of this rest. So you can see rest, we got name and we got height. So you can pick any of the values you want, any of the key that you want. Then every other thing will now be inside of this rest. So you can now make use of, do whatever you want to do with this rest, with however you want to do it. I can even say, I can destructure this rest. I can also destructure this rest because it's an object. I can also destructure it. I can say const, all right? I can say name and height. I can destructure it. I can destructure this rest. Okay, if I go on and print name, it will give me the name object. So I can also destructure, I can destructure it. Oops. Okay. Seems like, oh, console.log. Oh, that might mean, sorry. Console.log. I'm sorry about that. I didn't type the log. So I will clear and run. You can see I was also able to destructure the rest of this rest. Remember that this rest variable now contains the, after taking out age, it contains the remaining of the student object, and you can also destructure it. So things to take notes, things to note. If you try to destructure a non-existing property, you will get undefined. You saw it. If you try to bring destructure, the other time I did ABC, and ABC does not exist on the student object. All right. If you try, destructuring is great for cleaner and more readable code, especially when dealing with complex data structures or APIs. All right. So in the next section, all right. Okay, just give me a second. All right. Okay, so let's talk about object spread and the rest operators. All right. How do you spread? There's something we call object spread. Yes, you have already seen the rest operator. So let's take a look at the object spread operator. So we use the object spread operator to copy or merge object properties. If I want to copy an object, I can use the object spread operator. Look at how it works. You can use it to clone an object. So look at it. We have this person object, name and age, and I want to clone it. All right. I can say cloned person, and this is how I do. So let's go. Let's go to code. Let me show you. So I have this student object. So if I want to get a copy of it, I can say const, I can say copy, and I can say, now I want to copy everything that is in this student object. I will open an object like this, and I will do ... 3 dots, and I will do student. So this is what we call the object spread operator. This is what we call the object spread operator. It can be confusing with the rest operator, but this is what we call the object spread operator. If I go on now and print and console.log copy, all right, it would print the exact thing that we have. You can see it is a copy of it. So with this, I can copy, all right? So this is how you make a copy. Open a square bracket, a curly brace like this, and do ... student, all right? It will copy it into, it will create a new object, and that new object will be assigned to copy, all right? So you can use it to copy or merge objects. You can use it to merge objects. Let's say you have two objects and you want to merge them into one. You want to make them one. So let me create another object. I will say const, whatever, car, okay? And I will say price, sorry. I'll just say price is 8,000. And I can say color. Color is red. So if I want to merge, all right, if I want to merge car and student object to be one, what I will do is I'll just put a comma here and do ... car. Look at it. I am putting the student object and the car object into one object. If I run this now, you can see we have the student, everything in the student object and everything in the car object. They are now one. We now have everything on one object. Okay, so all you have to do is to do ... student, comma, ... car. All right, so that's how you merge. Okay, so if the keys collide, the last one will win. If you have the two objects have the same keys, all right, the last key, that means the last object to be merged, would win. So look at it. Let me show you. If this car also has age, all right, and the age is 90, if you try to merge it, student has age, car has 90. If you try to merge it now, this, because we are, the last object here we are having here is the car. The age of the car would hide the age of the 40. Moreover, we cannot have two age keys now. So JavaScript will pick one. So if I run this now, you will see that what happened? Oh, sorry, I didn't save it. I'm sorry, I didn't save. That is why I didn't reflect. I didn't save. So you can see now the age is now 90. All right. But if I turn this around, all right, instead of student first, I started with, instead of student first, I will start with car. All right. Then the student age would, now you can see here. So it will take the last, if there are two keys that collide, all right, two keys that exist in both objects, the last one, you can see here, the student is the last one we merged. That's why we got 40. The other time when we did car, at the end of it, we got 90. Okay. So to extract the remaining properties after picking some out, you use the rest operator. That is what I have shown you before. I have just shown you that before. We have seen how to use the rest operator. So you have seen the object spread operator and you've seen the rest operator. Okay, so you can use both of them together. You destructure and you clone at once. Okay, I will leave you to do this yourself. You destructure and you clone at once. So we have age, name, and job. So here we are taking just the job and the rest of them we are putting it in rest. So here we are not cloning. We are not taking the rest. Remember, the rest contains age and name. And we are not putting it, we are not adding another object. Okay, we are not adding another this object to it. So let me show you. Let's say we are cloning, we are doing the rest operator. Okay, and this is student. And we are doing the rest operator, and we have something like this. We will have, let's take the age out, then we now have the rest of them in a rest operator. The rest of them in a rest operator. So how can, now we are trying to merge, we are trying to use both the rest operator and the object spread operator. So look at what I can do. I can now say I want to get a copy, and this copy would be, I would say, of course, this is how you do the object spread operator. And then I will say, I'm using the rest. I will spread the rest. Remember, the rest will not contain every other thing apart from the age. So then I want to add a new object. All right, I can do something like this. I can say country, Uganda. Okay, why am I getting this error? Okay, so this is what you do. You don't have to put the curly brace. You do it like this. You can even add more. You can add more key value pairs. You don't have to put the curly brace. You can say country. You can say status. Marital status could be single. All right. So here we have used the rest operator, and then what the rest thing that we got from this student, we are cloning it, we are merging it, we are here, we are doing what? We are doing this object spread operator. So with this, we can actually console and we'll get our copy. Console.log, and if we print copy, save, and then you can see what we have here. We still have the name and the age. This name and age is coming from this rest. All right. Then we now add new key value pairs. All right. So in case this key value, these ones, in case they are coming from another object, all right. If I have them in another object, what I could do is this. I could just do spread. I would do object like this. So this is how you combine them. All right. So if I run this code, we're still going to get the same thing. All right. So if you don't want to do, if you want to add new, if you have an object existing like this, you can use the spread operator like this. But in case you don't have and you just want to add new keys, you don't have to put the curly brace. Okay. And you will just do something like this. So I'm just giving you more options, and both of them would work. Okay. All right. So keynotes, both only work with own enumerable properties, not inherited. What it means is this: all these things work with the I don't think you don't even need to bother about this now. All right, you don't need to bother about this. But the thing is this: most of the objects you'll be creating now, they are going to be enumerable. All right, they are not going to be enumerable. They don't perform deep clone. It is just shallow clone that they are doing. It is not deep. All right. When you use this spread operator, the object spread operator, it doesn't do deep copying. It does only shallow copying. The order matters when merging with spread. Later objects override earlier objects. You saw it when I was doing the car and the student, when I was changing their positioning. Their order really matters. Okay. Thank you very much. Make sure you do your assignment. Make sure you do your test. And if you get confused, please reach out to us. Okay. Reach out to us. Thank you very much.